Hey everybody, it's Blaise here, and I am back. And so welcome. I've got new digs. I'm in a whole new office now. So last week I had to take some time off and finish up my How to Draw Bears course, which is currently just getting finished up, getting edited with my son Dustin, who's here as always. Say hi, Dustin.
Hey guys.
And so he's finishing up the editing on that. After we had to finish that, so I had to take some time off from streaming because I just couldn't get it done without with streaming. And so then also we've just kind of moved things around, and I moved my old office into here, and I've got whole new stuff. I got monitors up in front of me here and over here. And anyway, I'm in a whole new space.
They're saying we have some serious static going on.
Okay, let's go ahead and check our sound.
Oh yeah, some
Okay, let me see. Check off the headphones. We might just try this all over again, folks.
let's go ahead and start the station.
All right, I think we're back on. We just went ahead and changed up our audio devices. Let me know if this is better. Sorry about that. But I'm just going to keep talking. I don't know if you guys heard anything I said before, but I'm in a whole new space now. And let's just check that sound real quick. Are you able to hear it on that end?
Yeah, we're good.
All right. We just the sound might not be as clear, but I got rid of. We had to reset up. I moved spaces, and setting things up the same way twice proved to be a little difficult.
Baby steps.
But here we are. So I'm in a new space. I'm loving it. I'm doing some illustrations. I'm working on. If you guys remember, I can't remember if I was talking to you or if I was talking to the Facebook Live folks. But I'm involved with a group called Expedition Art, and we're currently creating a book called 100 Endangered Species, and I'm doing 4 of the paintings in there. And if you remember the elephant painting that I did a few weeks ago, that was one of them, and I'm currently working on a Florida panther. Now, a lot of you out there know what a cougar is, or a puma, and probably think of them as being part of, the American West. And actually, they go all the way down into South America and down into Patagonia and up into the, in the Andes and all that, which a lot of people don't know. But we also have a small subspecies here in Florida in the Everglades, and they're called the Florida panther. And so that's what I'm creating. That's the next image I'm creating. And I'm just at the stage now where I'm just kind of scribbling it out and working out my composition. I'm going to show you, this is one that I had done that's a bit more dynamic, but I wasn't crazy. I just wasn't crazy. It felt too, just didn't feel real enough, I guess. Not regal enough, but, I wanted it to feel like a Florida panther, something, just more action-oriented, and I wanted you to know that it was a Florida panther, so I threw an alligator in there and thought, there would be, over time, there was some kind of confrontation, I'm sure, between an alligator, a big gator, and a panther, and I thought it would be fun to try to kind of illustrate that. I do know that Florida panthers, when hard-pressed, will eat gators, and so I'm trying to be really accurate to just the species, the area, the environment, all of that. And this was really pushing it a little bit much for me. So I decided to change that. And I wanted to do something a little bit more regal. And so that's where this is coming from. And I want to show you some of my reference that I'm using working up to this. But real quick, I just want to let you know. So once again, I've got my son Dustin Blaise here. And he's going to be helping with questions. And we've got Nick Birch, my business partner. He's over in Sarasota, and he's typing, and he's going to be working out questions as well. And he'll be giving you links to brushes and all kinds of stuff that you might ask about. But anyway, let's jump back into here. So I'm working in Photoshop. I'm on my Cintiq 27 QHD. and which is basically a big touchscreen tablet that I'm working on. And I wanted to show you some of the reference because a lot of you guys know that I draw big cats. I draw a lot of animals. I still use reference. I still get inspiration from different things. And so, first of all, environmentally, I went out into the swamps here where I live. I live in Florida, so I'm able to get into the Everglades and get into some of the native plants and everything else. And as I was walking through, I saw this scene right here. I want to bring this down. That I just thought was a really great stage to put a panther into. And I walked past it a couple of times, and I thought, man, this is really great. I'm sorry, my alerts keep coming up. I don't know how to turn those off. I've turned off the alerts up there, but the Facebook ones keep coming up. These I just thought this was really. I love painting the grass, as you guys have seen in some of my other tutorials, and I just thought, a cat. It's very typical of Florida panthers moving through the sawgrass and everything else in the Everglades, kind of tracking their favorite prey, which is deer. And so I thought one coming through and kind of looking up over the grass might be kind of interesting, like he's hunting. So that's where that environment came from. So, yes, Dustin.
Do you have any tips on what to think of while painting cats, especially big cats? I'm really trying to learn, but I just can't get the cat feeling down.
Well, it's funny you say that because I've got an entire course that's like 12 different videos or 15 videos or something like that. It's over 20 hours worth of content on how to draw big cats on my website, creatureartteacher.com. I'm not pushing it, but I'm pushing it because it's probably the most thorough animal drawing course that I have. And it really, the biggest thing I stress is just knowing your anatomy. And, a lot of people ask the same question you had is, what do you recommend? Well, you got to get in there. And once you know the animal, then you can draw it. So you have to understand that anatomy. And that's what I've done here. As a matter of fact, part of that course is on how to draw cougars and Florida panthers and whatnot. And, but I also want to show you, I've got some images here from a refuge. These are Florida panthers at a local refuge down in South Florida that I would go to, and I would go in and sketch them live, but I would also photograph them, and I just thought I really like this guy's face, and so I took that face as inspiration for what I'm drawing here, and all the photos I have are of him kind of walking with his head down. Whoops, there we go. Whoop, there, I'm grabbing the wrong thing here. There we go. And there. Let me pull this down here. So I've got a whole bunch of photos of this guy kind of pacing back and forth. And so I use that as reference, to get in, a lot of times for lighting. And if I'm not quite sure how, one of the muscles might move one way or the other, then I'll get in there and just kind of refer back to this stuff. It's always a nice little way to check back on yourself, So that's what I've done here. I've created this rough sketch. He's going to be coming out of the darkness. I think from a lighting standpoint, I'm going to push the lighting so it's not all completely bright like you see in the foliage reference that I brought right here. I'm going to throw some shadows in there like I usually do in some of my other images. I want to push the drama of the lighting. He'll probably have a bit more grass going over his feet, that sort of thing. And you can see I've created different layers so that I can move things around, and just play with the composition. So if I want, and I always do that. So if I want to, if I'm not crazy with where he's at here, I can move him around and go, you know what, maybe he looks better here or whatever. So, but I'm liking where that is right now. So probably what I'll do now is I'll just take all of these and knock them back. Just going to knock them all back. Do you have something, Dustin?
Yeah, what about the color theory and color harmony? What's your process when approaching a painting like this? What do you think about when picking the color hues and saturation?
Well, when I'm thinking about color and saturation and hues and the theory and all that stuff, when I'm doing a painting like this, I first of all I think about my focal point. Where do I want the viewer to look? And obviously in this one, we want the viewer to look at the panther's face. That's the focal point. Now, I don't want you to only look there. I want you to move around. So I've got these grasses are great elements. That's one of the reasons I like to draw grass, because it creates pathways for your eye to follow, and your eye is automatically just going to kind of zip around. But when we get to the head, I want you to be really kind of focused on that. So there's two things that I'm going to do. I'm going to make that the area of most interest, and there's uh, through contrast, meaning value, light and dark. I'll probably put his head in light against a very dark background. There's going to be a lot of detail there. And some of these other areas I'll push back and push cooler. That's why I want to play with that lighting that I was talking about earlier. And so it's through lighting, value, and color. It's going to be very warm there, and he'll be in front of a very cool background. So there'll be contrast there as well between warm and cool, and not just dark and light. So I'm going to, but my first, the first thing I do is I'm going to jump in and just start redrawing. So let's just do that, and we can just relax a little bit and have fun and draw. What do you got, Dustin?
What made you choose to be an expert in animal art instead of drawing and painting human figures?
Because I love drawing animals. that's the best reason I got for you. I mean, I do human figures too. I've got a figure course. I draw humans as much as I've drawn animals in the past in a lot of ways. I mean, but I've just always been drawn. I'm an animal lover and advocate, and I've always been drawn to them. I've always been drawn to nature, and so I love drawing everything. So don't get me wrong. Just because I'm doing a lot of animals doesn't mean I don't draw anything else. So I do a lot of figurative stuff, actually. And matter of fact, I'm going to be creating a figure drawing course. Right now I've got an anatomy course on my website, but I'm actually going to be creating a figure drawing course probably in the next year or so. We've got it in the works. So the idea, the point being, I try to stay as diverse as possible. There we go. I'm just coming in here and tying things down. I like to have a nice tied down drawing to look at. I just want to move this around here. There we go. I want to have a nice tied down drawing to look at before to me, it's like having really good plans for a house. The better the plans are, the easier it is it's going to be to build the house. And so that's how it is for me with drawing. I try to get in some really good drawing, make sure it's as strong as I can make it, and then I can relax and focus on the painting and not the drawing down the road. There we go. There.
What size canvas is best for this kind of painting?
Well, for this one, because it's going to be reproduced, and we probably be doing some prints, I wanted it to be fairly large. So this one is the image size. Oh, shoot, this is supposed to be bigger than this. I forgot to size it up. There we go. It's 20 inches by basically 16. And so, there we go. I was wondering why it was so grainy looking. And that 300 dpi. So at that size, that's a fairly large image at 300 dpi. I'd be able to blow this up, 8 feet wide, and it would still hold together. So for me, it's all about making sure that the resolution, it's a balance between having really good resolution and not bogging down your computer. Now I've got I got a new computer now that's a little bit stronger and can handle bigger files a little faster. But my old computer, it would bog down really bad. There we go. And I'm looking at reference cheekbones. I want to always think about that anatomy. You know, there's that indication right there. That little dent, that's the nasal opening. All of this is cartilage. I'm always thinking about, you know, that like this is all the muscle going up over the ridge, the bone ridge, or and the eye socket. And then that cheekbone, especially on pumas or cougars or Florida panthers, these cheekbones are really prominent. There we go. And some of them, they get these like little wrinkles coming up in their head right here.
How would you study anatomy? Would you just look up pictures of the bones and muscles and do them over and over? I've never really understood what study anatomy meant.
Well, when I say study anatomy, yeah, it's doing all of that. So, but I mean, study anatomy, I don't mean knowing every minutia about every muscle. What I mean is, when I'm talking anatomy, yes, it is good to know the muscles, but it's good to know more about the masses and their proportions and how they move. And a lot of that is learned through observation, direct observation of animals. You know, but you can do that at the zoo. You can do that. One thing I do a lot of is I record nature programs, and when I play them back, I draw. And I can freeze frame if I want. So nature programs, Discovery Channel, you know, things like that are really great resources to sit and record and learn anatomy. I try to avoid photographs unless I've shot them myself. And the reason being, a photograph will lie quite a bit. And if you don't know the anatomy and if something gets distorted in a photograph, you're not understanding. You might think that distortion is what's supposed to be there. If you're looking at it moving, like a video, then you can at least understand a little bit more of what that form is supposed to be. But if you're just looking at like Google Images and trying to learn by drawing from photographs that way, it's a little bit more difficult, and I wouldn't recommend it. But going back to if you'd shot your own photos, one of the great things about that is having shot your own photo, you were there. You saw that animal moving. You were experiencing, whether you were, you know, in the at the zoo or even in the wild. You know, I've been out in the wild many times. You know, take bears for instance. I just finished this course on drawing bears. You know, I've seen thousands of wild grizzlies and black bears and that sort of thing, and so you know, that kind of stuff rubs off on you, and you take it home with you. There we go. This guy's feeling pretty good. So, long story short, sorry. So, that's what I mean by studying your anatomy. It does help, and if you do want to get specific, then, you know, one of the things I do is I'll Google, let's say I want to learn something new, or you want to learn something new, let's say a cougar, and you want to learn the musculature. You can just type in cougar musculature and see what pops up. You never know, and you might get what you're looking for. But you know, for me, it's a lot of keywording and making sure I find the right keywords, and you never know what you're going to find. There we go.
Do you have any plans for doing any a canine course?
I absolutely do. The question was, do I have any plans on doing a canine course? And I think that's going to be my next animal drawing course. I want to do wolves, foxes, coyotes, domestic dogs. I'm going to do a few of, although that might be a whole subset, whole other course on its own. But yeah, I think I've gotten huge requests for that, and so that's going to be the next one. And as a matter of fact, I'm getting involved in some projects right now that have some film projects that have wolves and other canids in there. So I'm definitely going to I'll be working on that quite a bit. So yes, it's coming down the pike. So here I want to get some of this musculature in here. Triceps. These are the tricep muscles. coming into the flexors, right in there. There. I still stay fairly loose. There we go.
What are the challenges and dangers when drawing animals in the wild?
Well, I don't think there's really any dangers. I mean, unless you're out, trying to draw lions out on the Serengeti and you jump out of your vehicle, there's really no. The danger is no different than just any other common sense being out in the wild. But the challenge is obviously, and it's the same with being at the zoo or any place else. The biggest challenge I think for people, especially just starting out drawing animals, is the idea that they move. Animals, they're not going to pose for you like a woman or a man in a figure class. And so there's techniques that you can do, and techniques that I've developed, and it's funny because other people have developed the same techniques. That will help. One of the things that I do, especially if I go to the zoo, let's say, and I want to draw, the first thing I'll do, and especially if it's animals that I'm not really familiar with, the first thing I do is I sit and I don't draw. I just sit and observe. Just look at them. Try to get a sense of their shape, their proportion, all of that. And I get this. I'm trying to get these flexors in here just right. There we go. And then one technique, especially if they're moving around a lot, that you can do is stare at them, and then once you hit a pose that you like, look away really fast. And what that does, it's really interesting the way it works. It works really well for me. You're left with that last image. That it's almost like a freeze frame you're left with. And then I'll sketch it really fast. And the cool thing about, especially animals in captivity, is that they'll tend to repeat the same motions. Let's say they're, encircling their enclosure. So you can wait till they come around to the same spot and do it again and do it again. So there's little techniques here and there that will help you in that regard. And then the other one really is just, once again, going back to knowing that anatomy. There we go. And these feet you might not even see these feet here. Probably won't see them. Latissimus dorsi, right here. That's the muscle that comes off of here, and that's the muscle on humans that enables you to do a pull-up, along with your biceps and trapezius. But this latissimus, that's the muscle along your sides, and it's what you use to pull. Yeah, Dustin.
Why is he half bodied? Because I draw the whole animal and then cover it. Well, I don't know very much about composition.
Well, because I don't need to. I'm not going to draw anymore. The question is why am I only drawing half of his body? Well, because I've already worked out the composition, and I know that I'm not going to see that back half. So, and I'm lazy. I don't want to draw more than I have to. So I work out my composition first through thumbnails and little sketches, and then once I get it where I like, then that's when I start blowing it up and doing my finish. So that in that way that I don't, like I said, I don't have to draw any more than I need to. There we go. Coming down in there. And I want him fairly lean. The cougars that we have in Florida, they tend to be a little bit lean. They're a little darker than some of the other cougars from out west. A little grayer, to blend in a little bit with their with the grasses, sawgrass and all that. Do you have something, Dustin?
Nothing.
All right. I'll just have that leg come back in there.
Let's just say one particular animal is back in the chat again.
Moose!
Moose.
No moose today. Moose head. There we go.
There, but no mooses today, Harry.
So I'm going to change layers again. So I've got something here that I like. Now I'm just going to want to look at some of that environment reference. There we go. And I'm looking, I want this flow to come through, and I want this gaze coming out, his gaze going, or to feel like he's looking out over at something out over the grasses. So back here, this is all going to be fairly dark back in here, so I don't need to indicate a lot.
How can I give to the brush up pencil effect like you're doing now? I think he's asking what brushes are you using to give that pencil kind of effect?
I create my own brushes, and so this is one of my own custom brushes that I've created. And you can see here, it's a neat little kind of chalky brush. I like natural feeling brushes, and so and Photoshop has a decent, array of them, but I wanted something that was more pencil looking, and or chalk looking, and so that's what I created. They're on my website. Once again, sorry to sound like I'm peddling stuff, but it's creatureartteacher.com, and I've got literally hundreds and hundreds of brushes on there, and they're all really cheap. And this is in my original. Actually, if you just go to my website and sign up for the newsletter, you get these brushes for free. You get this brush for free, and people love it. It's been a really popular brush. So there's that. There we go. I'm going to throw another layer on top because I want to hit. I'm not going to hit. I just want to hit some of the direction that I want these grasses to go. I almost want it to feel like he's coming out of this arching kind of cathedral thing, kind of. I want it to feel dramatic. And all of this grass is kind of coming over and overlapping, and it's really thick. Got a lot of grass coming up this way, and it comes and arcs over. This is all arcing over from this side over here. What do you got, Dustin?
Oh, nothing. Besides the anatomy and animal courses, would you ever consider doing a course based on around sci-fi, like sci-fi creatures, like?
Well, I do creature design, and I've actually got a couple of courses on creature design. I'm going to do something a little bit more. The question is, will I do anything on sci-fi, creature design, that sort of thing? I don't do. One thing I'm not good at, and it's just something I've never specialized in, was like mechanical sci-fi, environmental sci-fi, that sort of thing. But creature design is something that I'm a little stronger with, and so I focus on that. And so I'll probably do some of that in the near future again. I'll throw another layer on top of here just to indicate some of these thicker grasses that I want to see where I can overlap and guide the eye right up into the head. I also want it to feel like he's kind of looking between the grasses. There we go. So I try to keep everything really loose at this stage. You can see, even though I'm tying things down, especially if there's a lot of stuff like grass and that sort of thing, because it's really going to evolve. This painting will end up taking me, or this drawing. I don't ever know what in digital work. I never know whether to call it a painting or not, because I'm so my background's so traditional. I guess it is a painting. Or even it feels like I'm drawing. But anyway, this will probably end up taking me about 8 to 10 hours to complete. So obviously we're not going to get it all done here. But I wanted you to see how I start it. We can get some value structure in here.
Would you say that it's better to draw from life, like in the zoo, or from photo references?
You know, they both have their value. The question is it better to draw from life or from photo reference? I think ultimately, drawing from life is always better because you're seeing that subject, whether it's animal or human or whatever it is, you're seeing them in 3 dimensions. You're seeing, all around them. You're not seeing something flat, which is not. That's not how we see our world. Our world is in 3 dimensions. So if you can do that, that's great. Obviously, the drawback from drawing from life is what I was talking about earlier. Animals move around, people move around, but it forces you to really look and study and see. And so that part of it, it's a good balance to really do both, because if you can get a sense of gesture as well. If you're drawing from life, you're forced to having to draw fairly quickly, and you want to get a lot more gesture. And then you could jump back to photographs to get accuracy in some of your anatomy, even though sometimes that photograph will lie, like I was talking about before. There we go. I'm on a brand new computer too, which is working a lot better. I'm working on I just got a Mac Pro, and that thing is just awesome. Awesome.
Is your bear course almost ready? I'm ready for you to take my money.
Well, you guys got to talk to Dustin. Dustin, my son, who's sitting here. It's all in his hands right now.
Yep.
I handed everything over to him last week to finish up the editing. So.
Yep, Dad got all the videos done and all that. Now it's my job to slap it all together, get all the editing done for it. So
So do it.
I'm on it. Well, not right now.
Do it.
Kind of a questionnaire right now, but afterwards I'll be right back on it.
There we go. All right, so I'm just kind of noodling right now. So now the next step is to kind of lay in some very rough color. So, and I usually start at the back. I want to start with the background. And we got a lot of greens, a lot of ochres, greens, and we're going to get really warm and fairly cool. But I'm going to start with local color first, although in this background I'll probably push the value dark anyway. Let's go up into the cooler greens. Here are the hot greens. These are the cool greens. Come on down in here. It feels a little pure. I'm going to go a little grayer with it. So I'm thinking about warm and cool and value. That's what I'm thinking about.
What do you think about the blind contour method?
What the great thing about drawing blind contour, obviously drawing a blind, when you're drawing, first of all, for those of you that don't know what drawing blind contour is, it's when you have a piece of paper, you put your pencil on the paper, and you look at your subject. And it's almost like a copy machine. As your eye follows the subject, your hand moves. My hand is here, and my eye is following the subject, and as it works, my hand moves. And what that does is it forces you to really see your subject. So often, if someone sits you down and says, okay, draw that tree, a lot of people will draw what they think is a tree rather than drawing the tree in front of them, even though they're told to look at that tree. It's just, it takes practice. And so it's the difference between drawing what you think and drawing what you see. And ultimately, when you do that enough, drawing what you see, the world that you see will be what you think. And that's what drawing blind contour does. It forces you to look at a subject. It forces you to look at a subject intimately. You look at the details, and I like that. So I think there's great value in that. So I'm just throwing a bit of a, let's see here, a bit of a dark background back in here, just for him to stand out against. I'm going to vary it up with some warmth.
I think you've answered this one like last week or something, but what was the most challenging shot or scene that you have ever animated for any of the movies or whatnot?
Oh, there's several. The question was, what's the most challenging shot from an animation standpoint that I've ever animated? And there's actually several, and they're all for different reasons. I mean, there's literally just mechanical reasons. There's acting reasons. There's all kinds of stuff. Um, there's that shot. There's the shot in Beauty and the Beast where they're arguing back and forth. I've talked about that shot several times in the past. And he's getting bandaged, and that hurt. And they're going back and forth and fighting. And when I animated that, I was a pretty young animator, and so it was really difficult, challenging from an acting standpoint. And Beast was really difficult to draw. So getting all that to work together was a big challenge for me. And then there's a shot in a Roger Rabbit cartoon that I did, and I covered this in one of my YouTube videos, where it's a short Roger, it's a Trail Mix-Up. It's called Trail Mix-Up, and I animated about the first minute or so of that cartoon, where Roger's coming in and there's Mom and all this stuff. Well, there's a scene where he trips. He's carrying all this camping equipment, and he trips. And he gets tangled up in this rope and around the tree and everything, and he's swinging in, and he's having to talk and act, but he's all wrapped up in this rope, and he's upside down, and he's swinging, and he's twirling, and the twirling is slowing down, and the swinging is slowing down until it stops, and then he starts twirling the other way, just like a wound up rope. And he's having to act all, as well. And so that was just figuring out the mechanics of that was really, really difficult. And it was very methodical in the way that we finished it out. So there's a lot of different shots, different reasons. So here I'm just trying to create a little bit of a dark background. I'm going to throw some over the top and get some color on him. And at this stage, I keep everything very loose. It's going to evolve. Everything's going to evolve. There we go. It's funny, I've got my stream screen up here, and I keep thinking my cursor is up there, but it's the cursor down here. It's confusing. All right, so I'm going to go warm. Now this is kind of cool or interesting because, these are all kind of washed out greens and very cool greens. And so we're going to be going almost complementary. We're going into the oranges, which the complement is blue, but we'll be getting close to some reds in there too. And that'll be, here we go. What do you got, Dustin?
Ricky Acosta wrote, Aaron is the Bob Ross of digital art.
That's right, baby. I love Bob Ross. And actually, that's always kind of been my goal. I love Bob Ross. I love what he did. I love how he brought art to the people. And so now that we're in a digital age and he's gone, I kind of wanted to kind of take up where he left off and do what I'm doing. And I love it when people say that. It makes me happy.
You should dress up as Bob Ross for Halloween. Do a special Halloween live stream as Bob Ross.
That would be awesome.
Just gonna add this little friendly tree here.
He's a great guy.
Yeah. Are you drawing from a reference or from your head?
This is drawn from my head using reference, if that makes sense. So I don't have any reference that is hitting this pose. The question is, am I drawing from my head or am I drawing from reference? No, I'm drawing, I'll show you. I've got this image right here I've got, sorry about the cough, I've still got kind of a lingering cough from a few weeks ago. I've got this image, whoops, where did he go? Let me grab this. There we go. Got this image here. I don't know why this shrunk up like that. So you can see I've got several like this where he's walking back and forth. So for me, it's just I'm looking at lighting. I'm looking at some of the musculature to make sure I'm being accurate, and I just make up my own pose. But I've drawn a lot of cougars in the past. Florida Panthers and cougars. There we go. So right now I'm just throwing in local color. And when I do local color, I just throw down one color first, and then I start adjusting. You're awful quiet over there, Dustin. You got questions to read to me? Do you see questions going by in the stream? How we doing? There we go.
Trying to find a good one here.
Or you can just ask anything.
Oh, you sure?
Well, within reason.
For instance, how much do you bench? It's a real question in here.
I used to bench 275, but not anymore. And I never got up to 300. I'm a little out of shape nowadays as I've gotten older.
What was your opinion on Space Jam?
I liked Space Jam, and I thought it was a fun film. And I like the animation in it. I like that they went back to the Warner Brothers feel, and Eric Goldberg had a lot to do with that, who did the genie in Aladdin. And I liked it. What'd you think about it, Dustin? Because you were a kid when that came out.
Oh my God, it was one of my favorites.
That's what I thought, because I know you guys loved it.
Every time I hear that Space Jam song, especially to this day, like 100% nostalgia.
Oh, I Want to Fly?
Oh no, not that one. The Everybody Get Up, it's time to jam.
Oh yeah.
That one. Every time I hear it, it's just like, oh man, it's my jam. But yeah, absolutely I still watch that movie to this day.
So here I'm changing up. I want to get the tones right in the cat. So I'm still doing local color. This is just making sure I'm hitting the right colors in the. Then I'll add shadow later.
How do you work out your outlines to make them not look cartoony in the end?
Well, eventually when I'm doing the question is, how do I work out my outlines to not make them look cartoony in the end? My drawing style is I have varying line weight, meaning there's light and dark, and I automatically emphasize just over time. I emphasize where I want attention and de-emphasize where I want less attention. And so, but also when I'm working on a painting like this, ultimately by the end, the line work will be gone. That's the goal.
Is there a difference between male and female cougars?
Yeah. Mainly size. Males are bigger and more heavily muscled. Females will be obviously smaller, a little bit smaller, and just a little bit more slight. But they're still pretty heavily muscled. I mean, they hold their own, because males will come in a lot of times and kill cubs, and those females, obviously, female doesn't want that. See, I'm playing with grays right now. Playing with the grays.
Are you satisfied with your art, or do you think it could improve? If so, where do you want to improve?
Well, it's not so much. I just want to keep working. I think we all can improve, and so I'm never I never feel like, oh, I'm as good as I'll ever be. And I'm constantly learning. I don't know specifically where I want to improve, um, but I just want to keep doing what I do and get better in that way, just through doing. And that's a little bit of a cop out answer, I know, but it's kind of how it's just that's my philosophy on it. I go a little darker than that, a little richer. It's right on the tops of the heads. They get a little nice and rich in the color.
What was your favorite movie of all time?
I don't have a favorite one favorite. I've got a lot of different favorites for different reasons. I'm sorry about the coughing. I just I love all kinds of film, and I love Oh Brother We're Out There. I love The Big Lebowski. You know, I love them for what they are. I love big epic films. You know, The Last of the Mohicans, Dances with Wolves. You know, those types of films, because that to me, I get so caught up in the romanticism of all those. The Revenant. You know, that's The Revenant to me is one of the just amazing piece of filmmaking. Big films like that. I love Baz Luhrmann films, believe it or not, musicals, if they're done well, and I think they do fantastic. Moulin Rouge, I really love that film.
That was a good one.
I just love it, and you know, I love a lot of different films for different reasons. You know, good thriller. I love scary films. I love any of the Aliens films. I thought they were all fantastic. So, you know, I could go on and on and on. So here I'm just getting local color laid in. There
How
we
long
go.
have you been doing digital illustrations and animations?
Digitally, I've been working for probably, let's see, I think I started working digitally in like 2006.
So roughly 10
So 10 years, 11 years. Yeah, I was very, very adamant about working on paper. I working digitally scared me. I didn't understand it. I didn't know what it was all about. And I'm gonna gray him out a little bit. And so, oops, I was a little too late. And so I avoided it for a long time. And then I was getting ready to direct a film at Disney called King of the Elves, which I never finished, never got made. But and it was going to be a CG film, computer animated, and I thought, okay, I need to learn CG or learn digital illustration. And so I just jumped into Photoshop, and I had some great help from one of my friends, Andy Harkness, who was one of the art directors on Moana just recently. And so he kind of showed me some of the technical ropes on it, and he was a great help. And we just kind of dove in, and that's how I took off from it. The great thing about digital work is, or the Photoshop, working in Photoshop the way that I do, is that it's very similar to the way that I work traditionally. And so I'm going to throw a layer on top of there. And so I've been able to adapt it in that way, in the way I work layers and color and all of that. I'll get some local color and get pretty pure here. There we go.
Nick picked out a question. What do you think are the best things to focus on in practice? And if you were hiring, what is the thing that makes someone stand out?
Well, what do I focus? Go through the question one more time, Dustin. Sorry.
What do you think are the best things to focus on in practice?
Okay, so let's start with that. So the question is, what do I think are the best things to focus on in practice? And there we go. That's feeling good. The big, for me, when I'm looking, I want to see somebody that can draw. If I'm looking at a development portfolio, I used to be I was looking at animation portfolios, and it was really about drawing then as well. Um, but but now animation's not as much about drawing as it is about the animation. So it's a different world, and it took me a long time to adapt to that actually. But anyway, I'm getting sidelined. I When I'm looking at development portfolios, I want to see people that understand color composition, and then they're good draftsmen. Good draftsmen on top of everything, because I think other things can be learned. But if you can't be, if you're not a good draftsman, then it's like a car without any wheels. There you just can't fake it, and or at least I'm a big believer in that. And so here we go. So that's the first thing that I look for is draftsmanship, and then what was the second part, Dustin? Because I have another place I want to go. I want to make sure I'm going to the right place.
The second half is if you were hiring,
Right.
what is the thing that makes someone stand out?
Okay, good. That's where I was going to go, and it's one of the things I look at. If I'm, when I was at Disney, we always looked for permanent hires. A lot of the time, or most of the time. So people that are going to come in and become part of the studio. So what does that mean? Well, that means you're going to work from one film to the next. And taking that a step further, if you're working from one film to the next, each film should look different than the last. So I want to see people that have the ability to show variety, and once again, going back to people that have the ability to draw really well, have the ability to change up what they draw and how they draw it. Their styles can change. So I like to see people that have that ability to change up their style and show variety and have an understanding of form and light. Um, Depending on what it is that they're interviewing for. If you're interviewing as a 2D animator, let's say, which is more and more rare, then you don't need to know about light, but you better know how to draw, and you better know how to animate. And I know that sounds obvious, but I want to see. So often we would look at animation portfolios and from people that would submit animation that had nothing to do with what we were creating, and at least stylistically. If I'm working at Disney, if I'm a director at Disney and I want to hire somebody to come on and do animation on my Disney style film, I don't want to see The Simpsons. It's not going to help you because it's a completely different style of animation. That's kind of the point I'm trying to make there. So make sure stylistically you're using you're putting forward the best foot. I'm going to blow this up a little bit. I want to crease.
What's your opinion on Japanese animation or anime?
Um, I think it's fine. I mean, there's bad Japanese anime and there's good Japanese anime. So that's like, for me, it's like, what's your opinion of animation? So I mean, I love, it's if it's good, it's good. So it doesn't matter to me what I don't like. If it's just because it's anime, I guess doesn't mean it's. There's a lot of people out there that think, or about me actually, that think I don't like anime, because I do tell people to stop drawing anime, young people. But the reason I do that is I want them to broaden their horizons, because so many people they're just drawing cartoons and they don't have any background in drawing from life or anything like that. And that's where I really want people to kind of push themselves. If you can draw from life, I mean, the people that invented anime and were drawing anime, those people knew how to draw figures too. If you look at Miyazaki and what Miyazaki creates, all that is so derivative of real life, and then they stylize it. And that's what I want young people to do that are not, they haven't really gotten educated in art yet, and they're drawing anime, and they get so mad at me when I tell them to stop. It's
You
kind
want
of
them
funny.
to broaden their horizons, and doing that could actually help improve their with their anime
Yes.
in the long run.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeesh.
Yes.
I don't think the audience can hear me though.
There we go. So now I'm just laying in. Like I said, I go very loose. I'm going to share this with you next week when we get back on here on Thursday, and you'll see how much it'll change. But I really I don't worry about detail at this point. I'm just laying in color, and I'm just going to slowly build it up. I want to build up my layers. I'll create another layer over this and get into some more silvery grass. There we go.
You ever create characters based on someone close to you?
Yeah, actually, I have. The question is, have I ever created characters based on somebody close to me? Nala from The Lion King, young Nala. I designed her and animated her, and my daughter at the time was 4 years old, 5 years old, and I based Nala's look on my daughter, the eyes and all of that. And she takes big pride in that, my daughter does.
Oh, I'm sure she does.
My daughter is 27 years old now. But she was the inspiration behind Nala.
Oh man, we still haven't seen Beauty and the Beast yet.
Nope, still haven't seen Beauty. Did someone ask if I'd seen it?
And somebody's asking your opinion on it.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to see it, so I don't have an opinion on it yet. I will be seeing it. I haven't seen any movies actually. I've had a big slew of visitors and trying to get courses done, and my social life has gone down the tubes.
And plus, Fate of the Furious just came out. I really want to see that. The new Fast and Furious movie.
Yes. So I'm going to get some stuff back in here. So now I'm just kind of randomly laying in color, and then it's random. It's slowly going to become more and more detailed. I'll start putting in grass strokes and things like that as it becomes more detailed. There we go. I don't know how to turn off my notifications. There we go. So I'll just start breaking up the space. I want more. I want this to be thicker. I want this to feel thicker. I'm going to build this up. That'll be a lot in here. And I start balancing out the color at this point too. There we go.
Just curious about your process when working on your own films, like Snow Bear. Do you start the storyboard process before the character designs and models are all finalized?
Yes. The question is, do I start, when I'm doing my own films, do I start the storyboard process before the character designs are finalized and all that? Yes, and we actually do that we used to do that at Disney as well. But I try to keep everything going in tandem. So it's, the first thing we do is, the first thing that inspires us is the story, the idea of what. So a lot of the story is discussed before we ever have any designs down. But through that discussion, ideas for drawings will come up, and that's a lot of times that's where it starts. I get in here and just get really dark. And so, and then a lot of times, once the design process starts, then that'll inform some of the story sometimes. So it starts going back and forth. So here you can see I'm going to start throwing in a little bit more darks. Just to, there we go, get something in there. It's random here and there. If you saw my How to Draw Grass course, live stream, that's kind of what I'm thinking about now. So I'm just keeping things really loose, getting in some of the negative spaces in the background. There we go. It's just feeling a little bit boring, so I'm going to push. Once I start pushing that lighting, like temporarily, I can show you kind of what I'm thinking about from a lighting standpoint. I'm going to throw a layer on top and multiply that. And let's go a little cool with it. Possibly here. So you see I'm pulling all these values together through shadow. I'm experimenting right now to see what it would look like to do the grass shadows coming across his chest. I'm getting the back side of his head here.
What's your favorite animal to draw? My personal guess is bears.
I like big game. So yeah, a lot of people think I just love to draw bears because I draw a lot of them, and yeah, they're fun to draw. I probably know them better than anything else. But I love to draw big game, big animals, and predators. I like predators. There's something about them that really I like a lot.
So like elephants and rhinos and lions. And
yeah. Well, elephants aren't predators, but...
Well, you said big game. So.
Big game, exactly.
Speaking of elephants, did you already do a course for elephants yet? Or?
No, I haven't done a course for elephants.
Wow.
And I've got a PDF on how to draw elephants, but I am going to be doing a course on elephants.
I always expected that to be like one of the first ones you ever did.
Nope. So here... I'm just experimenting. I want to play with value right now. This is, I want to see where we can go with this, where I can go with it. So here, this is where I'll start playing. And I'm going to come in here with my re-racer, as my kids would say when they were little.
Say what?
Re-racer.
Re-racer.
Re-racer. So now I'm just erasing back out some of these grasses to make them feel they're coming into light. Eventually they'll be opaque going over him.
Why don't you band together with ex-Disney animators and create your own studio?
Because it costs a lot of money. Everybody says, why don't you start your own studio? Because it's not that easy, and it takes millions of dollars to do it. And I like what I'm doing. I like having my own studio the way I'm working. And I'm going to add some overlay here. I really like what I'm doing my own kind of independent films and teaching and, all the stuff that we're doing now. Add some dark in here.
Will there be a course for backgrounds and landscapes?
Yes, there will be. It might not be with me. I'm starting to look at other people that can teach some courses. And I might not be the best, I might not be the best guy to teach it. So, although I will be teaching some painting and that sort of thing, but there will be a course on backgrounds and environments and all of that. So you can see here what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create a little bit of drama in the lighting. I want to get up in here. I'm going to darken this up again.
You said you're going to do a course on how to draw birds in the future, right?
Yes, I am going to do. The question is, am I going to do a course on how to draw birds? And the answer to that is absolutely. Birds are the first wildlife I ever learned as a kid. And one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to become an ornithologist at one time, someone that studies birds. And so I've got a pretty good knowledge of Florida birds and birds of the world, and bird mechanics too, animating them and here we go. So yeah, it'll be coming out. Sorry, Dustin, go ahead.
Will you be doing another pro weekend conference anytime soon? I went to the one in 2015 in Nashville and loved it.
Probably. Well, I'm going to be at CTN this next year, out in Burbank, California, and I'll probably be speaking there. And
you said it's going to be this November, right?
Yes, it's in November.
I thought you said next year.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. The year is going by really fast. So it's not next year. It's in November. Sorry. So anyway, here's something. This is kind of where I want it to go. So you can see some of that drama. And I'm going to double this up. And watch what I'll do. I'm going to come in here. And I'm going to create a layer. Actually, no, I don't want that. I want normal. I'm going to put a layer on top. And I'm going to do an overlay. Let's get some hot color. Almost like sunrise warmth. And I just want to experiment. See what we get. Blow this up. I want to get it really kind of warm.
Have you drawn any bats? And if so, could you do a live stream on drawing them?
I've never drawn bats. I'm not an expert on their anatomy either, but I would definitely. I'm interested in them. I think they're awesome. That makes sense. I'm gonna go a little warmer with that. There we go.
How was it to work on the bear and the hare?
Oh, the bear and the hare was a blast. The question was, how was it to work on the bear and the hare? For those of you that don't know what the bear and the hare is, the bear and the hare was a commercial that was released in the UK for a department store called John Lewis, which we don't have over here, so a lot of people think that's a person and not a department store. But and they do a Christmas campaign every year. And so a few years ago, they hired me and some of my other friends from Premise Entertainment, Dom Carolla and his studio. And they hired us to create the animation for this commercial, this Christmas commercial. And so I designed all the characters. It was all animals. It was a bear and a hare. And so I designed them, and then I animated all of the bear himself and the hare. And so what was nice about that for me was just being able to kind of get in there and animate again on paper, which is something I haven't done in ages. And that just felt great. I loved it. So here, now you can see some of the drama. Now you can see what I'm talking about by using value and color. Even though this is super rough and really scribbly, I've got a pretty good roadmap now on where I want to go with this. And now I can go in and start laying in my details. And as long as I stay within these the value ranges that I've established, I'll keep the drama. And right away, your eye goes right to that head. So that's the idea. That's the area of most contrast. He's sticking his head into the light. But there's going to be other things like this. If I, like I'll create a layer on top here, and let's grab some of this color, and we're going to go really warm with it, and like this. And we're going to have places where, here we go. You know, this grass is just picking up really crazy amounts of light here and there. And it's these things that will help with the illusion of light shining through like this. And I'll just go through very methodically and work this all out. So anyway, that's where I'm going to be going. That's what I'm going to be doing for the next day, working on this, and then I'll share it with you. I'll share it with you next week when I get back on this. But I'm going to get going now. It's we've been at it for about an hour and a quarter, and I just wanted to show you how I get these paintings started, where we start from that rough sketch, that inspiration, and kind of get it rolling. This is how I get it chugging, and now I'm just going to keep working all over the composition, working the drawing, obviously, color, value, details, things like that, and working it up. So I hope you guys learned something. I hope you enjoyed it. And Tuesday, I'm going to be back over on my Facebook live stream. So come on over on Tuesday at 1 p.m. and see me there. And then Thursday, I'll be back here again. So every Thursday, we're back to it. And I hope you guys learned something, and get out there and put some beauty back in the world, because that's what we're supposed to do as artists. So I'm going to remind you of that every time. So go out there and have some fun drawing and painting, and I'll talk to you next time. So goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Here we go.